Hi, Wesley here, and welcome back to GrantMe. Today we're going to be talking about how to get into Toronto Metropolitan University. This is part 2 of a 4-part video series on Toronto Metropolitan, and this as a whole is part of GrantMe's Ultimate University Guide series, where we take a look at Canada's top 20 universities. We give you lots of cool tips and tricks about how to apply, the admissions requirements, and a lot more. Now, let's just talk about what Toronto Metropolitan is first, just so you know a little bit about the school before we move on to the whole application process. Toronto Metropolitan is the most applied to university in Ontario relative to the available space. There are over 45,000 students with 100 plus undergraduate and graduate programs and 133 partner universities in 37 countries. At Toronto Metropolitan, they're dedicated to creating a culture of action, and they believe that education and experience go hand in hand. What their students learn in the classroom is enhanced by real-world knowledge through internships and co-ops, through zone learning, specialized minors, and graduate programs. In terms of rankings, Toronto Metropolitan ranks among some of the top business programs in Canada in terms of value for money. It's also been second multiple times on the National Reputation ranking by Maclean's magazine, and the DMZ at Ryerson has been ranked as one of the top university incubators in North America. In terms of standout programs, Ryerson is home to Toronto Metropolitan, not Ryerson because they just changed their name recently, is home to 125 plus different research institutes and labs. And in terms of special well-known programs, they're known for their media production program, as well as their creative engineering, business, and nursing programs. And so in today's video, I'm just going to be walking you through kind of step-by-step through the application process. And so if you like these videos, want to keep up to date with the content we are producing, please make sure that you do subscribe and ring that notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with our latest videos. Now, let's get right into it. Before you apply, make sure obviously that you have chosen a program of study. So what I would recommend to you is you go browse the admissions and residence view books that they have available, whether that be the admissions handbook or the international admissions handbook. And then from there, you can choose from over 60 undergraduate programs. Now, when you choose your undergraduate programs, do make sure and double check that you meet the admission requirements. And the way you can do that is by selecting your educational background on the website and then visiting the program page. You also need to make sure that the program is still accepting applications. And after that, you can view information regarding their guaranteed consideration dates to make sure you're aware of when your deadlines are. Now, there are 30 steps to applying for Toronto Metropolitan. So, step 1 is submitting your main application. So, you will have to complete the OUAC application that is right for you. If you don't know, OUAC is basically kind of like a centralized university application portal that is used for Ontario universities. And so, Canadian high school students will be completing the form or the application called OUAC 105, and international students will also be completing OUAC 105. Ontario high school students, on the other hand, will take a different form called the OUAC 101. There are also supplementary forms, so all applicants who are not currently attending an Ontario secondary school in a daytime program of study have to submit or required to submit a supplementary form through the Choose Toronto Metropolitan portal for each program applied. And so an application for admission will not be reviewed until the completed supplementary form has been received by the undergraduate admissions team. And so in this case, applicants have to wait for an email acknowledgement of their application and have set up their online identity through Toronto Metropolitan to submit a supplementary form. Step number 2 is to submit your documents. So once you've received an email acknowledgement of your application from Toronto Metropolitan and you've successfully activated your Ryerson online identity, you can begin the process of submitting your transcripts and supporting documents through the Choose Ryerson applicant portal as applicable. And so you might notice that I'm kind of using or mixing up the words Ryerson and Toronto Metropolitan. And so basically, Toronto Metropolitan did used to be called Ryerson, and they've changed their name since the Toronto Metropolitan, but for some reason, some aspects such as the online identity are still called My Ryerson. Don't ask me why this is, I don't know, but so If you see me using these terms interchangeably, that's why. But in terms of the documents that you will need to submit on this portal, these include academic transcripts, these include supplementary forms, supporting documents, and as well non-academic requirements. So if you watched the previous video, we discussed grades plus programs, and basically that means is some programs select students on the basis of grades and also non-academic components. So this can include auditions, interviews, portfolios, essays, all of that. So if you need more information on that, visit the Grades Plus program page and you will get a complete list of these programs, the non-academic requirements, the submission date, and procedures. And you do have to remember for these programs that applications are not considered complete if these items are not received by the noted deadline. So make sure you get everything in on time. Lastly, the last thing you need to submit is your proof of English language proficiency. And so what I would do is I would go to the document submission page to determine what documents you require to submit and how to submit them. Because in terms of Ontario schools, the English language proficiencies are kind of confusing. But if you have studied here in Canada in high school, taking your classes in English, you should be fine. So don't worry too much about that. But you can visit their website for more details if you think you'll need it. All right. Now, your last and final step is to check your application status. So visit the After Applying page to review your next steps and responsibilities. Make sure you add their no reply email to your email contact list and you check your spam folder consistently. That way you make sure you don't miss any critical information. That is something that a lot of people mess up on. They get emails from the university, goes in their spam, they never see it, and that's a step not done. And sometimes their application is marked as not complete. So check your inbox frequently from this point on. You can also log into the applicant portal to view letters or documents that are issued to you by undergraduate admissions, and you can also track your application there. As an applicant, you also have access to the applicant portal until late September, after which your account there will be deactivated. After disclosure, your communications will remain available through RAMSS. All right, now let's discuss something that's more fun. Not really, it's about money. We all love talking about money. And more specifically, your application fee. And so for your Toronto Metropolitan application, there is a fee of $90 that can be paid through the OUAC application portal. And this fee covers and is limited to 2 program choices on your application. So $90. Decently reasonable, I would say, compared to other schools within Canada. But what might not be as reasonable to you is the cost of tuition. And so the cost of attending Toronto Metropolitan does vary depending on your faculty and program, and it also varies on whether or not you live in residence. And so if you are a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, you can expect fees for full-time programs to range from around $7,032 to the $11,140 range. And so I have like a couple numbers here. So for arts, generally the highest range will be $7,100. Engineering is significantly more expensive, for example, at like $11,000. Sciences around $9.5K. If you're going to the School of Management, that's also around $9.5K. And then if you're going to creative school, that's like $7,800. So you can see the fees vary wildly depending on your faculty. If you're an international student, obviously it's going to be significantly more expensive. For you, it can range from $29,000 to $38,000. And so just keep that into mind. And, you know, if you're very concerned about the cost of tuition, scholarships are an excellent way to help you kind of fund a portion of your tuition. And so, you know, personally for me, very difficult because tuition is not cheap. And so my main way of paying off my tuition, I decided was going to be through scholarships. And scholarships, they're very, very kind of intimidating at first, especially when you're kind of jumping into it head first. And so if you are considering on applying for many scholarships, I would recommend you consider using GrantMe services. And so GrantMe is, I would say personally, a very great way to help you lower your tuition cost. They provide you with many helpful services, such as kind of checklists. They match you with scholarships. They provide essay editing. They have mentorship. and they just provide you with a lot more confidence and knowledge on the scholarship process, and soon you'll be applying for many scholarships and winning many more. And so personally, it really helped me out. So if you are interested in this, highly recommend that you go over to the website description, over in the description, check it out. And if you're interested, we'll see how that goes. So check it out if you're interested in lowering your tuition costs, because great services that they provide. But aside from that, I don't really have much else to say, to be honest. So just to cover everything, we've gone over kind of the application process for Toronto Metropolitan today. We've discussed kind of the application process, the special requirements for different programs, as well regarding tuition. As I said earlier, consider using GrantMe if you are very concerned about how you're going to be paying off this tuition, because it is not cheap, I will say. And so if you're struggling with that, I 100% feel you. So consider applying for scholarships. Very useful. In terms of further resources you can also go down in our description. We have a wonderful scholarship eligibility quiz where you can kind of see if you're eligible for other Canadian schools. Very helpful. So if you have the time, go ahead and fill that out as well. But that's all I have to cover for today. Please make sure to subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I will see you in the next video. So thanks for watching and have a great day. See ya.